For almost a decade, a bright rainbow sign has welcomed visitors to the Imperial Valley LGBT Resource Center in El Centro. It's out at the entrance to the parking lot. Another version hung on the lobby. But in the last 2 months, those symbols of the LGBTQ plus community have been taken down.
The sign is new. We recently had the sign changed from Imperial Valley LGBT Resource Center to the Donnelly Community Services Center.
Rosa Diaz is the center's founder and CEO. She started the center in the mid-2010s after trying to get her church to do more to support kids who were questioning their sexual orientation.
Well, it didn't go very well, and after a while, I was no longer allowed to be in the position of ministry.
Diaz was a minister at the time, but because she came out as lesbian, she says the church took away her leadership role. Diaz decided to create her own Bible study group for LGBTQ plus people in the Valley. Pretty soon it started to grow. In 2015, Diaz decided to start a resource center.
I didn't know much about the LGBT population. I knew about myself being, lesbian, but there was nothing in my radar about rights. It was more advocacy for help, both mental and physical health.
LGBTQ plus resource centers have a long history across the country, but this one was the first of its kind in Imperial County, the only official physical place for the Valley's community. Other advocates in the region were excited. Kathy Molig is the executive director of Trans Family Support Services in San Diego. She says she met up with Diaz personally to try and figure out what they could do to support the new center.
It's not a matter of competition because there are plenty of people that need our services. So it's a matter of when we work together, we're stronger. And that's what we were hoping to bring to Imperial Valley.
But some people were a little more wary. They didn't feel like the center was welcoming to everyone in the broader LGBTQ plus community, especially when it came to trans people.
So I met a lot of people who used to go to the center, but due to the toxic environment, very toxic environment that went throughout the years, people just left.
Andy Lopez is a former outreach worker at the center. She says some of the other staffers would repeatedly misgender her and other trans employees. Lopez says she reported those behaviors, but that Diaz never did anything to stop them. Eventually, she reported the center to the state civil rights department.
This is my lived experience with all the hate by somebody who promoted acceptance, but never honored our existence.
Diaz denies these allegations. She said Lopez never reported those behaviors to the center's leadership. But in recent years, Diaz has taken more public stances that are at odds with advocates for trans rights. In particular, Diaz says she's become more skeptical about some types of healthcare for trans people or gender-affirming care. She says she sought out information from 2 specific groups, GenSpect and Gays Against Groomers.
So it's really this rhetoric that involves, isolating trans people, attacking trans people as sort of delegitimizing them as part of the broader civil rights struggle.
R.J. Cravens is a senior research analyst at the Southern Poverty Law Center, which tracks extremism. He says these 2 organizations are hate groups, part of a broader network that's targeting the trans community.
Trying to delegitimize trans identity, call into question the general global medical consensus about gender-affirming care.
Diaz says she doesn't completely agree with what these groups say, but she says she wants to hear their perspective.
You can call them hate group just because they don't agree with you, or you can just say, yeah, well, they oppose me or they think differently, and that's America.
This past October, Diaz spoke out at an Imperial County supervisors meeting against the new state law, one that had strong support from trans advocates. That law requires schools to get permission from students before sharing their sexual orientation or gender identity with their parents. Then, in December, Diaz announced the center was changing its name to the Donnelly Center, taking the name of a retired judge and longtime financial supporter. In the parking lot outside the center, they took down that bright rainbow sign and replaced it with a glassy ocean blue placard. Molig says it didn't come as a surprise, but it was disheartening. She and other San Diego LGBTQ plus leaders issued a joint statement condemning the decision.
There's not just the rebranding and the shifting of a mission of a center. There is a whole population within the county that is not serving because there's just not enough of all these providers.
Despite the criticism, Diaz remains defiant. Imperial County is big, she says. If other people don't think her center is serving the trans community, they should do it themselves. Already, some other advocates in the Imperial Valley say that's exactly what they plan to do. In El Centro, Kori Suzuki, KPBS News.